Good morning, this is the Alchemist. Okay, so I have had a few discussions with people here and there in regards to my beliefs. Okay, so I just want to explain my side of things. So I believe, I suppose, in the same things as people that are Christian. The difference is, I don't really go by the book. And I mean, I believe that there's truth in everything and there's lies in everything. But I don't go by the indoctrination of the Bible. So I believe in God, but I don't believe you need to go through someone to believe in that God. I use the word God as a description, and I don't call on any deities' names because I don't know the power of them. Now, obviously, people that kind of understand where the Bible comes from, they're man's accounts that are submitted from different countries that are called canons. So I'm not discrediting a biography of a man who, has had godlike experiences. I'm not discrediting that because then that I would be discrediting myself. What I am doing is saying that that book is not written by God himself. So it's an interpretation of what man believes. Now, the Bible is meant to be a guide, as with other religious books. It is not the connection to God. So those that believe that, that they're reciting all of this stuff from a book, it's kind of like the text to the experience. It's not the experience of God. The experience of God is a personal connection and a personal relationship. Now, the only way I can describe the situation to explain myself better, and I use this analogy quite a lot, and basically it is that if a man was on a desert island and he had no literature, could you tell that man that he doesn't know God because he doesn't know the commandments or he doesn't know what's written in the book? That's not how it works. See, God gave you everything you need to follow God. And you wasn't born with a Bible. Like the only connection that the only instrument that you can use to connect to God is your heart. And so your God is your Bible is your heart. So we're all connected universally to say, we're all connected to that source, and, there is talk, in religious fields, you will hear about the Sacred Heart and blah, 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 that sort of thing. Well, that's kind of what I mean. It's like the connection is a universal connection to your heart, and you can't connect to God without your heart. So, the main ingredients to, following God is your heart and your connection. So those that go vehemently, with the book, is, I can understand to a certain degree, but you've got to understand that there are other people's facts that you're taking as your own. Just like anything that you call upon, people call upon, all these different things, Megatron or whatever the things that people come out with. Look, do not be calling on any deities that you don't know the power of. It's as simple as that. And when I say God, I'm using a description of what is a descriptive word. It's not a name. So, look, I understand that people might be upset by my views, but that is not the reason why I'm doing this, because I just want to explain that once you get to a higher vibration, that's a God state. That's God is a frequency, a higher frequency. At a high frequency, you cannot emit negative energy. So if you're at a high frequency, you can't say anything bad. You can't do anything bad because your nature is not that. You've changed that about yourself. Your vibration is very, very high. And that is what I mean by God is a frequency. because of the state, the frequency that you have to be at that point. You can't admit any lower frequencies. And so that is, what I actually believe. I don't believe in anything to do with the devil. I denounce the devil. I don't, I don't endorse any negative satanic behaviour. Now, it's came up in regards to what I believe when it comes to ancestors. Now, I was explaining to a lady the other day that, as long as you've got tribal ancestry, then, you can connect to your ancestors, your higher ancestors, not the lower ones. Now, that's not worship, that's honouring, okay? There's a big difference, and even in the book that, everyone seems to be reading, it explains that you're not meant to worship. So, anyway, I know that God is my Father, my Creator. That's the person or a state of being that I look up to, and that leads my life. Ancestors are basically, God works through your ancestors, and you're only tapping into your ancestral blood. So if you're not tapping into your ancestral blood, then you're tapping into something demonic, because there's no connection to you. There's no blood connection to you. There's no connection at all. So, and I don't endorse anybody calling on higher ancestors and stuff like that. Personally, I have a job to do. I've got a mission here. I know, pretty much how to move in certain realms, but, just for the safety of other people, I wouldn't endorse anybody to call on their high ancestors unless you were chosen. In other words, you've got a mission to do. You're in your North Node. You know exactly what you're meant to be doing. That information is more to do with people that have elevated, that, there's been an evolution of their soul. They're high priestesses. They're chosen. They're empresses. They understand that they're calling. Yeah. The General Joe blog, I wouldn't be endorsing anybody to call on anybody, because when you're going into them realms, you need spiritual protection. If you're not an empress, a high priestess, or, been chosen, then you're not going to have the spiritual immunity that you need to have. It takes a lot of time, decades. It doesn't, you're just not a high priestess, or, it takes decades of learning and evolution. So I would avoid that and just stick with God. But yeah, sometimes it's funny, because when you're making points and stuff on YouTube, and people can take inserts of your comments, and when it's taken out of context, it sounds a lot different. So I thought, that I would actually do a video to explain exactly what I mean. So for the general consensus for most people is just stick with God. Now, I don't believe you have to go through anybody to have a connection to God. That it doesn't work that way. You're born, your connection, your heart is to God, and that's what I actually believe. Sorry, I'm going to actually cook something while I'm talking to you. But yeah. So, and that's the that's the ethos of the way that I do things, is to bring your vibration up, because that is a God-like state, and evolution of your soul and spirit. So, but just on a quick diversion, I have people actually copying my content, reorganising it, and explaining it as if it's themselves that are doing this work, and it's not. So I have someone impersonating me on other platforms, and you know, I mean, it's ridiculous, but some people are trying to explain me as fake and the person that's copying me as the authentic one. I don't need to explain my authenticity because I'm just authentic. And it's quite sad that someone hasn't got their own personality or can't find their own creative ideas to actually do themselves. And actually people walking around saying that somebody's fake pretty much says it all. Do you see what I mean? So for those, if you do ever see any content that has been reorganised and made to look like it's, you know, coming from that person rather than me, please, if you could, just let me know what platforms they're on. I know that probably some are on TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. All of these platforms I'm not on, which is kind of making me want to go on them platforms and do that, which I will do, but you know, nobody's rushing my creative process because somebody wants to copy what I'm trying to do. And what I am trying to do is, it's an ethos, a way of life. It's my concept, my theory, you know, and I'm being led by God in what I'm doing. Which obviously some people will probably disagree with, but that's not what I'm really concerned about. So please just make sure that you pray every single day, morning and night. Make sure you thank God for your blessings and the ones that you receive. Make sure you pray over your food and your drink. And please thank God for the little things that you have that we take for granted in Western society, because they're not a given. There's a lot of people going through a lot of pain in regards to the necessities in life. So we should be thankful for everything that we have. Lots of love.